In the shadows of the old library halls, where the dust is thick and the silence calls, books tell stories of the things unseen, of foxes wild and spirits keen. Whispers in the stacks they creep, ghostly chills that steal your sleep. Paranormal truths no one believes, they linger here like autumn's leaves. Bibles open to verses dark, stories written to leave their mark. The wildlife outside hears the moans, silent foxes, the forest groans. The last of beast you cannot tame, a history buff who knows no shame. Parawan life outside hears the moans, silent foxes, the forest groans. The past a beast you cannot tame, a history buff who knows no shame. Paranormal tales in every spine, haunting truths that cross the line. Whispers in the stacks they creep, ghostly chills that steal your sleep. Paranormal truths no one believes, they linger here like autumn's leaves. Spirits waltz through moonlit air, books fall down as if to dare. Foxes howl in the wooded shade, they guard the truths that time forbade.
All right. Welcome to the library, everyone. Let's get on camera here real quick. There we go. Lenny, Edgar, and Victor hanging out back there. We're all ready to go. Hope you enjoy tonight's show. I'm so happy to see so many people here already. That's great. Hello, Thindu, my brother. How are you? Patty, good to see you. Delilah's in the house. Sweet Tea, the author of that wonderful song I just played. Sharon with Shannon. How are you? Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. I haven't seen you on a show, I should say, in a while. I've seen you in chats. Angelique, good to see you. Ryan Breen is back, our newest follower. Great to see you back, buddy. CG2, of course, is here. Great to see you. I see Tammy Thompson. Good to see you. I don't think you were here last week. Don't mean to call you out, but just pointing out that I recognize my people. So I'm glad to see you're back this week. Who else here? Did I miss anyone? I don't want to miss anyone. I think that's everyone for now. I'm sure more people will come in. And when they do, I will greet them appropriately. Arlene, how are you? Good to see you. All right, 15 people is good enough for me. I don't know about you, Lenny, but it certainly is for me. So let's light our candles and get started. Tonight we're going to the great state of Texas. Going back to the old match lighting method that Gerard suggested that I stick to. He's right. I just ran out of matches for a while, so I had to go to the lighter. But this is more appropriate, I believe, is the match lighting. There we go. There we go. I can shut this light off there. The better aviance, as they say. Hello, Stigs. Good to see you. Let's get these. There we go. We don't need that right in my face. So there we go. As long as they're in the picture, that's all that matters, right? We don't need that blocking Lenny either. Lenny and Edgar don't want to be blocked. All right. Well, there we go. Hello, Vincent Capisci. Good to see you. Tonight, stick around after the stories because we're going to look at TheGuild-ALV's ghost picture, which I'm looking forward to, and I want to get your reactions to it. I want to talk about it a bit. And, find out what you think about it. Deep in the heart of Texas, yes. I did not send out the link. Maybe I'll just put it in the chat later on. I didn't send it out this week because I was kind of scrambling at last minutes to put the show together because I've been so busy lately. I didn't have much time to prep, so I wanted to get everything up and running before I do anything else here. All right, Gina, good to see you. I'll tell you, today was a hot day. It was 94 degrees. That's a little bit too hot, even for me in July. But what are you going to do? Hopefully, it will be over soon. I heard that there's another heat wave coming our way, but we shall see. All right. What am I doing? I'm wasting your time here as I play around with this phone. But anyway, I got some paranormal videos and pictures I want to show you in addition to TheGuild-ALV's picture. So it should be fun. So if you stick around, I appreciate it. All right. Magooch. Magooch, my friend. It takes forever to do this sometimes. Hold on here. All right. Sorry for the delay, folks. Just give me 1 second here. All right, there we go. All right. So let's get started here. We're in Texas, the great state of Texas, where everything's big, right? So the ghosts are probably big too. But again, much like California, a huge state, a lot of history there, a lot of stories. Can't possibly touch them all. So I picked some. And I think the ones I picked are interesting. At least they're interesting to me. I hope you find them interesting too. The other thing I wanted to let you know is that if you like the show, please support us the best way you can, whatever it is. Please consider joining the membership thing. And here's why. I don't just because I'm going to move into doing, I'll still do these, but I'm going to move into doing some original fictional content stories that I have written that I would like to tell. And I'm going to do those as a members only show. So if there's something you like to do, become members and you'll have access to that content. So just think about that. If you like what's going on here, you might enjoy that in addition to my usual lives on Friday. So anyway, let's get into it, shall we? All right. So our first story of the day has to do with, it comes from a place called Seguin, Texas, Sequin, and it's the Magnolia Hotel. We can't have a show without a haunted hotel. We always have to have one, at least one. Come on. All right, let's get it up here. Let's show you what it looks like. Where is the Magnolia? Let's see. There we go. Hold on here. It's got to be here somewhere. Here it is. Stiggs gifted a membership. Look at that. Thank you, my friend. I don't know who gets it. I can't really tell. You tell me how to do that. I can't see who gets it. Um, does it say? I don't know. For some reason, I can't tell. Anyway, but this is what the Magnolia looks like, the Magnolia Hotel. This hotel was first opened, or I should say, built in 1840. Now, that's a long, long time ago. 1840. Oh, Patty, you got it? That's great. Good, good. So, 1840. It started out as simply a two-room log cabin, if you can believe that. And it eventually turned into this over the years, where it's an actual functioning hotel. Not a very big one, but still a functioning hotel. So let's get that. Let's get rid of that. And it was built by someone by the name of James Campbell. He's the founder. And he was originally a Texas Ranger. And if you know anything about the Texas Rangers, they were famous for their grit. They were out there fighting Comanche, fighting Raiders, fighting Mexicans, you name it. They were the toughest of the tough. And James Campbell is no exception. He is said to have a long history of notches in his gun, people that he took out in the pursuance of justice. So quite a colorful individual found at this place. He eventually, though, was killed by a Comanche in a Comanche raid. So he did fall, live by the sword, die by the sword, sort of thing. But anyway, he built this first as a two-room cabin, and then it expanded. And he built a basement in it was originally intended to be a shelter from Indian raids. This is where people in the neighborhood would go. And hi, Paulie. Hello, Kelly. Good to see you guys. And in 1844, the cabin converted to a stagecoach stop, and it added 3 rooms on. So it's over time they add rooms on to this structure. And by July 22nd, 1874, it was what you look like, basically what it looks like now. It was a fully functional hotel. Now, here's where the creepy part comes. Now, you're going to see there are about 6 different ghosts that have been sighted in this particular hotel, which is not an easy, not something to poo-poo. 6 individual ghosts is pretty significant. Now, the first of these ghosts is Joseph Campbell himself, the founder, the Texas Ranger guy, the tough guy. He seems to still be hanging around. He doesn't want to go anywhere. They see him in his Texas Ranger outfit often. The spirit will be in the Ranger outfit. So he's distinctly James Campbell. No question about it. Now, the next spirit I'm going to talk about, the next 2 spirits, come about from a horrendous thing that happened, and it's a documented event that happened. In 1874, there was an individual by the name of William Faust. Faust, like the traditional literature name, Faust, the guy that sold his soul to the devil. Ironic, as you'll see. He was very unhappy with his wife, and his wife was quite wealthy. In other words, his wife kept or had most of the wealth they had. So he intended to do away with her, and do away with her in such a very gruesome and brutal manner. His plan was to sneak into a room while she was sleeping and axe her to death. Now, why or how he thinks he would get away with this, I do not know, but this was his plan. Now, unfortunately, what happens in the night that this plan is launched, he goes into their house. He goes out late at night. He's supposed to be out at the time. He comes and sneaks back in with his axe. He goes into their room and begins to wail his axe at his bed where his wife would normally be sleeping. Unfortunately, he did not know that his wife that night was in a different room. And in fact, there was a 12-year-old girl named Emma Volker who was sleeping there, staying with them. It was a neighbor's child that was staying with them. And he ended up brutally killing this woman, I mean, this child, this 12-year-old child, Emma. And it was only until he heard the screams of his wife, who walked in and saw him doing this, that he realized that he had killed this innocent child. And at that point, he, in a fit of rage, he turns around and he goes after his wife anyway, and he ends up hacking her to death too. So you have two brutal murders that occur in this room. Well, Mr. Faust continued along with his plan. Now, his plan was that he was to be out for the night and that he would be staying at the Magnolia Hotel and then leave town from there. And that's exactly what he did. He went to the Magnolia Hotel and stayed the rest of the night. Well, as you might think, when morning came and word got out, there was no question who the murderer was. And a group of very concerned citizens grabbed him from the Magnolia Hotel and brought him out to his demise. Now, from this horrible incident, you're going to get three disgruntled, stuck spirits in the Magnolia Hotel. First is Emma, that poor child that lost herself. And people say they see her there in her little blue dress, just kind of wandering around sorrowfully, looking for her mother, looking for her relatives, often with a lost look on her face. The next person you might see is Faust's wife. And the horribleness of this is that you'll see Faust's wife in the distance. And if you were to get closer to her, you would see her image would begin to blood. You would see the bludgeoning of the axe marks coming out of her spirit. And you'll see this in the spirit in front of you. It's quite a frightful sight that scares people away. And then finally, you have the devil himself, Faust. You'll see him there too. Obviously, he's not making his way into heaven anytime soon. So his spirit is there as well. Not much around Faust's spirit itself, other than that it's there. You might encounter him or see him, but not much in terms of an interaction or anything like that. There's also a spirit of an unwed pregnant teen who was staying at the hotel to meet her. Another sad story. Staying at the hotel to meet her, to be her wedded person, her betrothed, her husband to be, who unfortunately they got ahead of themselves with their family planning. And however, the man here, or the boy, whatever he is, I mean, it's a young girl, but planned to elope with her, and they were to meet at the Magnolia Hotel and then make their elope. However, he never shows up, and this pregnant woman, distraught, decides to end herself by trying to give herself, trying to get rid of her child. So it's just a horrible situation. She tries to get rid of her child, knowing that she was abandoned, and then she ends up dying in the process. So you might see her spirit there as well. There's also a spirit of a traveling salesman who was an Englishman. He too took his own life in the hotel in quite a brutal way. Decided to slit his own throat. And many people say when you see the traveling salesman, you will see the gash appear in the throat and it will be open. So another horrendous, scary sight. So a lot of these spirits, these disturbed spirits in the Magnolia Hotel, create a frightful sight that scares people away. So not the best type of spirits you want to encounter out of just curiosity. They're pretty tough things to look at. So you don't want to encounter them. And finally, there's one benevolent spirit there. One benevolent spirit. Her name is Idella Lampkin. And she was an African-American fortune teller who died in the hotel. She worked in the hotel, and on the side, she would give fortunes. She would tell fortunes, et cetera, et cetera. And but she's a benevolent spirit. She helps, and one of the things they say she does is she helps people find lost things. So if you are at the Magnolia Hotel, you happen to lose something, she might hear you and she might seek out your item and get it to you. And people have said that their lost items would suddenly appear out of nowhere after they thought they were long gone. So Adela Lampkin is quite the benevolent ghost. No one complains about her. She's quite helpful. So there you have it. The Magnolia Hotel, originally built in 1840, still operational today, but has 6 different ghosts in it that would provide you with quite a fright if you end up going there. So that's your first story of the night, the Magnolia Hotel in Seguin, Texas. All right. Let's go on to number 2. Number 2. Now, number 2 is a bunch of different houses, or I should say a bunch. It's 3 houses, I believe. 3 houses, all located in Jefferson, Texas. Now, Jefferson, Texas is often referred to as the most haunted town in Texas. And that's because of these 3. And there's more than these 3, but these are the 3 that I picked to talk about. Now, the history behind Jefferson, Texas is quite interesting itself. It's not far from Louisiana, close to the Louisiana border. It's a community of about 2,000, so it's not a big area. It's not a big populated area. It was founded in 1841, and the land was originally controlled by the Caddo Native American tribe. I never heard of them before, Caddo, but they were a tribe that had this land, and they sold it to settlers at the time. It wasn't taken by violence or anything like that. It was sold to them. And the population over time, from 1841 to 1860 got to, believe it or not, 30,000 people, which is a magnificent amount when you think about it in that time period, 1860. But what happened was there was a big bayou in the area. Like I said, it's near Louisiana, so it's a very swampy area. And there's a big bayou that was right there. And a logging company basically jammed up the rivers that were feeding the bayou. And what happened is it basically created a waterway, a waterway that people could use as to travel. Like the water was so kind of backed up that it created a waterway that would allow people to travel and from there to other areas like New Orleans and St. Louis, connecting to other rivers. So it became, that was part of the reason for the boom, the population boom, because of this log jam that created this waterway. Well, in 1873, the Army Corps of Engineers blew up the log jam. I don't know why they did this, but they did. There must have been a reason for it. And the water basically drained out back into the bayou. And as a result of that, the waterways were not passable by commercial boats at all. So the place kind of died. It kind of died and went back to the 2,000 range, 2,000 people range. Now, in Jefferson, Texas, there's basically 3 major haunted places. There's more than that, like I said, but the 3 that I'm going to talk about, it seem to be the most powerful hauntings. Hello, Bobo. Good to see you. Gerard, my friend. Great to see you too. So the first place is the Jefferson Hotel. It's built in 1851. Let me show you what that looks like. Hold on here. You don't want to talk about something you guys don't know what I'm talking about here. Hold on. Hopefully I have a picture of it. Let's see here. The Jefferson Hotel, thus named after the town. Here we go. This is what the Jefferson Hotel looks like today. And you can see it's bustling for a small town. It has a bar in it, etc., and people stay upstairs. And it's a functioning, successful hotel for the area. So quite a nice little place to go, and it's historical. and you can have a good time there, in the South. So the Jefferson Hotel, there we go. Now, over the years, this particular place has had a number of different roles. It was a hotel first, and it was a brothel. Then during Prohibition, it was a speakeasy by the name of Crystal Palace. So you had a lot of activity over the years, over the decades, that kind of would lend itself to ghostly activity, a lot of like emotional type of activity that would lend to ghosts kind of being stuck there, right? So now there were three major ghosts in this particular hotel that you might encounter if you ended up staying there. So let's talk about them real quick. Now, the first one is called the Vanishing Man. Now, he has a long black trench coat, and he randomly will appear in rooms and disappear. Anyone who sees him usually sees him vanish before their very eyes, and that's why he got the nickname of the Vanishing Man. Nobody has put a name to him, no story, no specific story is he linked to, other than he has been showing up. He looks Western, old time 1800s Western, long black trench coat and a hat, appears mostly in shadow. They can't really see his face. He appears and then vanishes before their eyes. So the Vanishing Man is your first ghost that might startle you in your room at night. Who knows? The second ghost is a bunch of children. And these children are two or three young boys who, when you see them, they're usually laughing and joking and running, as young boys and girls would do, right? These are spirits that are trapped in the stage of life that which they left this life. And unfortunately, these boys, they're all boys, the two or three of them, and they are called the mill children because at one point in time, this was also a mill, and they were said to have died in the mill in a milling accident. Not, and there's no specific information as to why or how it happened, but child labor was quite common out in the Old West. Everyone had to pitch in, and everyone had to do their own thing. So if the owner of the mill, they might be his children, I don't know, but they died in the mill itself, which is no longer there. The mill part is gone, but they are still there, laughing and running and joking, playing for eternity. So you might encounter the mill children there as well. And then finally, there is room 19. And room 19 is said to be the most haunted rooms, the most haunted room of the hotel. And that's because there's a ghost named Judy that spends a lot of time there. And she's a teenage girl who, around 18 years old, believed to be a prostitute in the day when this was a bordello, who was killed by a John in a very gruesome way. She was stabbed to death, left to die in a bathtub. In fact, when they found her, she was, bloodied. All of her blood had drained, and she died bleeding to death. Quite a horrible way to die after being stabbed in a bathtub. And she's quite disturbing to most who see her because she is the embodiment of a jump scare. People will see her in the mirror when they're casually looking in the mirror to either look at their face, do their hair, what have you, and suddenly they see her in their back, and it sends shockwaves through their body, a jolt. And my God, what happened? They turn and she's gone. So they see her living in the mirror in that room. They're also said that she will tend to, if you take a bath or a shower and you fog up the mirrors, she will sometimes write messages on the mirror. So she is an interactive ghost. She's not a residual one. She is looking for interaction with the living, and she'll write things like help, or her name. She might write her name, Judy. Please help. These are things that people have seen come about in the fogged over mirror. So again, sad that this spirit is trapped there and reaching out for interaction with the living. trying asking for help, whether that help is just companionship or help she wants to move on, who knows. And in fact, there's been so much activity in the Jefferson Hotel that the book they keep a book they call the Book of the Dead, where when you check in there, they ask you as you're leaving to write in the Book of the Dead any encounter, any paranormal experience you've had. And that book is quite thick because over the years people continue to write in that book. I'd love to get a handle on that book and see exactly what's in there, but you got to stay there, I guess, to look at it. But quite an interesting thing, I think. They keep this Book of the Dead, all accounting all of the stories of people that stayed there. All right, so that's the Jefferson Hotel. That's your first haunted spot in Jefferson, Texas. Your second haunted spot is the Excelsior Hotel, also a hotel. This has been open since the 1850s again. And quite famous people have stayed here over the years. Oscar Wilde stayed there. President Ulysses S. Grant stayed there. And even Steven Spielberg stayed there, someone that we know of our time. And the ghosts that are there are four different ghosts. And it is said that Steven Spielberg was inspired by his stay here to write Poltergeist and create that movie because of the things he saw here while staying here. The first ghost is a young boy who will awake people, will wake you up in the morning as if he works for the hotel, and he'll ask you if you want breakfast. Now, people say he's so realistic that you don't even know he's a ghost until he walks away and disappears. And it is said that Steven Spielberg encountered this boy ghost too, which severely startled him. There's also the headless man who resides on the second floor of the Excelsior. And by the way, I need to show you the Excelsior. How did I not do that? Let me show you what the Excelsior looks like. If I think I have maybe I don't have a picture of the Excelsior. Let me see. So the second the second one here is the headless man. Kind of like your headless horseman, I guess. But hold on, let's see, where am I here? Here we go. Here's the Excelsior Hotel. It's an old picture, I believe. Yeah, that's it, right? Yeah, that's it. I mean, so this is an old picture. This is from the 20s, this picture, but you'll see how it is. It's a hotel that's been, again, added on over the years, added on. So, you could see the original structure to the left, and then as time went on, other things were built onto it. So it's quite a big hotel, quite a big structure. Again, still operational. Now, the headless man on the second floor, it is said that he carries his actual head in his arms. So that would be a startling sight to see that. If you happen to come across a headless man who has his arm right there, has his head in his in his chest, quite a thing to see. And then there's also a woman in black carrying a baby, and it is said that she's often crying as if the baby is sick or the baby is in trouble. She's a very troubled spirit, a very sorrowful spirit. So if you see her, it's not going to be the most pleasant experience. And it is said that she emotes this emotion, this negative emotion, that you feel sorry for her. You feel the negativity of the emotion. Hello, Gianni. Good to see you, my friend. I just saw you come in. And then the fourth ghost in the Excelsior is the murdered prostitute who was killed for a diamond necklace, and her body was left in the forest, mutilated. So just a horrible story there too. Even though her body, she may have been killed in the nearby forest where her body was found, her ghost tends to gravitate where she spent, I guess, a lot of her time when she was a living prostitute. So those are your four ghosts in the Excelsior Hotel. All right. Now, the third structure in Jefferson is called the Grove. And this is a home that was built in the 1860s. Now, this is a more modest home. It's not a hotel, it's just a modest home. And let me show you what it looks like, if I may. Where the heck is it? Why is it not here? I don't know how this happens. I prep for this and then images vanish. I just don't get it. I don't understand what happened here. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick here, because I remember having this open. There might, there probably is a limit on what I could keep in the background here in StreamYard. Maybe that's why these images vanish. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. Let's pull up the Grove so you can get a good look at it. It's tiny. We don't want that image. That's too small. We don't need that. I might be better. There we go. That's better. All right. Now, let's go to this here. Hold on. Okay. Let's bear with me here 1 minute. 1 second, I should say. We're right on. I'll be right on this so you can get a good look at the Grove. Here it is. Here's the Grove. All right. Here we go. This is the Grove. And it looks like your own modest, one family type of ranch house. Now, again, built in the 1860s. And ghosts have been reported there since 1882, which is interesting to me. It was owned by T.C. Burks at the time, and he was the first to report ghosts or paranormal activity. And as a result, he sold the house. He didn't want to live there, and sold it. And a couple by the name of the Youngs, who were former slaves, bought the residence and stayed there for their entire lives, actually. And the Youngs encountered a lot of activity as well, a lot of the spiritual activity there. It is said that the spiritual activity, however, was very negative in the sense that it affected the lives of the Youngs themselves, and ended up with their son, James, taking his own life in the house on the back porch, hanging. And it is said that it was the negativity of the spirits that caused this to happen. And that was it was in 1908 that happened. In 1950, the Young family still owned it. Descendants of the original former slaves that took over. And the reports have been shadowy people all over the place. Now, shadow people, some people think they're, neutral, but a lot of people think they're evil. And that might be the case here, and why, there was such a negative impact on the family because of these shadow people that seem to be there. They often hear footsteps and doors opening and closing. And then a relatively modern experience in the house is that there's a glowing white figure of a woman walking and sitting on the porch. Now, people believe this might be the ghost of the original owner who built it in 1860, by the name of Minerva Fox Stilley. Don't know why or, any backstory to it, but they will see her sitting on the porch or walking about at times. And it's interesting. She has a very glowing whiteness, which usually is a sign of a positiveness, right? It's usually not a scary type of thing. It's usually a benevolent spirit. So who knows? So that's the Grove. That is the third of the three structures in Jefferson. It has a lot of ghostly activity. All right. So we're going to leave Jefferson, the most haunted town in Texas, alone for a while. We're going to go on to something else. All right. Delilah says she wants to haunt her house when she dies. Um, why not? That sounds like it would be fun, at least for a while, right? Before you move on. That'd be fun. A little haunting while you transition to the next life. But you don't want to be there too long, right? You don't want to be stuck there like these poor spirits that are stuck there reaching out for help. All right, number 3. Now let's go to Arlington, Texas. Now the rest of these stories, I believe, are in Arlington, Texas, which seems to be a very haunted area. Well, no, the last one's San Antonio, but these are Arlington. Now the first one is It's called Hell's Gate of River Legacy Park in Arlington, Texas. Now, what is it? Well, Legacy, and I don't have a picture here because it's something that doesn't exist today. River Legacy Park is simply a park. It's a functioning park. There's a lot of activity goes on there. Kids go there and play. People ride bicycles in there, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a very rural part of it. It's preserved land. And people say there are certain instructions that can get you to a part in the rural part of the park that's actually called Hell's Gate. And why is it called Hell's Gate? Well, that's the story, right? The story goes that during the Civil War, there was a camp here that the Confederates held, a prison camp of Union soldiers that were captured. And from time to time, they would walk prisoners to their deaths. They would execute them here, Union prisoners. Now, why they would do this per se, I don't know. But it is said that over 100 Union soldiers were hanged on this particular property. And Hell's Gate is said to be the area of this land where they would walk these poor doomed soldiers to their deaths. They'd walk them down through this gate they'd call Hell's Gate. And at the end of this walk, there would be a tree with nooses on it in which they would hang these poor people, these poor soldiers. So remember, this is a Confederate installation, with Union prisoners. Now, people often see at the entrance of where the gate was, and it was said originally there was actually a gate there, that there were pillars there and actually a gate, and people walk down this path. Now that's long since gone. The gate is long since gone, and even the pillars, they say, are not there anymore. So it takes some doing to find the area in question where this is. But if you do, you might see a Confederate soldier, and they describe him as having red hair, a red-haired Confederate soldier guarding the entrance to where the gate was. Also, you will have. It's also said you'll hear moaning and wailing from these poor soldiers that perished there. And it said that when after they hanged these soldiers, they would bury them along this road, along this trail, this Hell's Gate trail, in unmarked graves. So all of these 100 or so Union soldiers were buried very unceremoniously, very unreligiously, not good, not in hollowed ground, just in shallowed graves along this way. And it is said, some people believe, if you happen to stumble onto one of these graves, walk over it, the spirit of that soldier will haunt you, will go with you. They don't like to be disturbed at all. They're upset that the way they were buried to begin with. And if you disturb them in the sense that you walk on their graves, they might follow you home and haunt you at your house or anywhere else. So not the best place to go, not the risk that I would take considering that. So that's Hell's Gate in River Legacy Park in Arlington, Texas. So stay away from there. Don't look for it. You don't want to. Not good things coming from there. All right. Now, the fourth story is called The Screaming Bridge. The Screaming Bridge. Now, this is a relatively new ghost story. It happens, or its origin is from February 4th, 1961. And it is said that 6 teenage girls plummeted off this particular bridge, this crossing of this river, when they failed to see the bridge was out. The bridge was out for the night for construction for whatever reason. They were in their car traveling at night, did not see it, and in fact, the um, the barricades were not there. Also, the bridge was under construction; it was out. The barricades weren't there either. So it makes sense why someone would crash unknowingly. And it said that the car went off the bridge to the other side. In other words, it proceeds to cross the bridge as if the bridge is there. The bridge isn't there, but it's on a high enough angle that it kind of propels it. The car shoots off into nothingness, hits the other side of the bank of the river, and then turns upside down. 2 girls are killed instantly. 3 others die on the way to the hospital. And it turns out that the bridge was not there because of arson, that someone actually burned it down. So intentionally, someone was looking to create this horrible, hazardous environment. And in fact, the authorities at the time said that the bridge, after it was burned, was thoroughly roped off with with roadside markers, but they were all gone on February 4th, 1961, that someone actually stole them. Probably the same villainous person that burnt the bridge down to begin with. So this evil person wanted people to die here. So it's quite another tragic story. It is said that this area too itself has a negative vibe to it because in 1944 there was also a deadly train accident and car wreck where 2 women were killed. Not on the bridge itself, obviously, but a train wreck right near the bridge crossing. And it is said that the spirits of these poor girls that died there are still haunting this area, this bridge, and the surrounding woods. Now, I'll show you what the Screaming Bridge looks like. I do have a picture of that. And why is it called the Screaming Bridge? Because you can hear the screams of these poor, poor girls as they they end up flying to their deaths. Here's the Screaming Bridge. And as you can see to the right, you can see the river still, a major river flowing here, but now it's concrete. After the wooden bridge burnt, a concrete bridge was eventually created. Hello, Cheech. Good to see you, my friend. Sweet Tea has now. I just ignited her bridge anxiety. Sorry about that. And Angelique, yes, I agree with you. I like going in cemeteries. I'm not scared at all or fearful at all. I think they're very peaceful places. But remember, those are usually places that are hallowed ground. So you should feel comfortable there, right? The spirits are at rest. That's why I like it. It's very calm and quiet, and the spirits are at rest there. So why wouldn't you like being there? It's a very peaceful place. All right, so a couple of things that happen on this bridge, the screams, obviously. And then there's also they say the appearance of tombstones, which is ironic or just kind of scary to think about this. Like illusions of tombstones will show up representing the tombstones of those that perished there. But these tombstones will appear on the side. Like, in other words, if you're on the bridge, you might see these tombstones on the side of the river below the tombstones. Like tombstones pop up, so to speak, and then disappear. That's very spiritual. They're not anywhere near, no one has ever touched them or anything like that. It's just an image or a reminder of death, I would assume, is why they are there. So, yes, Gerard, I remember the pictures of the videos of the old cemetery next to your house. I remember seeing that. So in addition to the screams, they say you can also hear the screeching of the car as it tried to stop going over. So a lot of noise and residual activity happening around the Screaming Bridge, which gets its name, the Screaming Bridge. All right. So that was your fourth story, Screaming Bridge of Arlington, Texas. All right. Now, your fifth and final story. Your fifth and final story is the legend of the Donkey Lady. It sounds kind of corny, right? But it's quite a story. So sit back and listen, and you tell me what you think. Gerard Siricelli's here. I didn't even see him. Welcome, Gerard. Good to see you. All right. Now, this story takes place in the late 1800s. That's our origin, as often it is. This is in the area of outside San Antonio, Texas. A predominantly farming family, farming area that is still farming to this day in general. And there was a farming family that lived off the banks of Elm Creek. Elm Creek was the waterway that went through there. The farmer, um, now, this particular family had a donkey. A donkey or a mule. It's probably this story goes it's a donkey. So a lot of times people can get those confused, but it was a donkey, and the donkey they say was quite ornery, and they'd often leave the donkey out in its pen or in it roped fenced off, but it's fenced. The fence would go along the road, which went along their home, went along, their houses back then. And you see this today, whenever you see an older house, it's always on top of the road. And that's always how they were built because they wanted interaction with people. It was so rare to get interaction with people. They wanted to be right on top of the road in case something happened. It's, people coming by, they could see people. So that's the way it was. And this was no exception. The house was on top of the road, and so was the penned area where the donkey was. And one day, an arrogant and very influential son of one of the town fathers was walking by, and the donkey was out by the fence, and the donkey was hanging, or whatever you call it, whatever they do, donkeys. I don't know what the terminology is here. But he didn't like it. He didn't like what he thought the donkey didn't like it at all. So he ends up throwing rocks at the donkey. The donkey, he gets close enough that the donkey's able to bite him because he was throwing rocks at the animal. Well, at that point, he takes out his cane, which I guess it was a walking cane or a walking stick, and he begins to beat the animal mercilessly, beating the animal. And at this point, the family comes out and the chases this guy away. Now, the guy vows revenge that he'll be back. He's not going to allow this to go on, that he was humiliated by this animal, and he's going to kill this animal, and he'll be back later on. Well, the family, takes it with a grain of salt, goes back to what they're doing, and so on. Well, that night, this evil individual comes back with a bunch of his friends. And in the course of them coming onto the land, they set fire to the barn and set fire to the house. Now, obviously, a tremendous overstatement of revenge, if you wanted revenge at all. Killing the donkey, okay, even if as evil as that might be, you would think that, at least why would you set fire to the house? But these people were vengeful, and they set fire to the house. As the fire is raging, the farmer and his children end up dying, being overcome with smoke inhalation, and end up dying. And the wife of the farmer sees that her family has died but is still alive. Somehow she is still alive, and she breaks out of the house. But as she's coming out of the house, she catches fire from this inferno that she was in. And they say that as she was coming out, she had nothing but burnt. Her hands were burnt off to the point they looked like donkey hooves. That they themselves were so burnt that there was nothing left of them except they looked like two hooves, and that her face was so charred and burnt that it became elongated to look like a donkey. And obviously, you know where the term donkey lady comes from, or donkey, lady, because of these features. And she breaks out and runs on fire still, terribly mutilated, and jumps hurls herself into the river in a veiled attempt to put out the fire or find some relief. Well, those evil people that were there didn't try to fish her out. They just watched as she, ended up drowning in the river. So this is the story of the donkey lady, and it is said that this spirit is still there haunting the area, looking for revenge against those who did this to her family. This horrible, influential, money-bound person, moneybags person in the town who thought he could do whatever he wanted to. So and it's said that she haunts the area of this bridge, which was right near her home, where she leapt into the water and ended up drowning. And here's what the donkey bridge looks like. I'll show you exactly what it is. And it's a cement bridge, and it's in quite a desolate area, and it looks quite eerie. And you can't really tell from the photo, but there's like graffiti on here, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very desolate and creepy area in which the donkey lady is said to haunt. And from time to time, people say they witness her. They witness her screaming through their window. So people will come and drive their car here, and they will see the donkey face, donkey shaped face. And it said over time, this woman's spirit has taken on more of a form of a donkey in her spiritual form than she did in real life, from the horrible damage she took from the fire. So she will scream this horrible, wrenching scream, and people will even say that there's hoof prints on their car as well. And some people go there and try to summon her by honking their horns. Probably kids tend to do that. And as a result, she's always irritable. The spirit is very unhappy, and will will scream, and people, some people say there's damage done to their cars, like hoof shaped prints, or hoof shift damage is done to the car by the donkey lady. So it's really a place called, the donkey lady bridge is what they call that bridge, slang, but it's really called Old Applewhite Bridge and Trailhead. That's the real name of this area, and it's haunted by the horrible spirit of the donkey lady. So I don't know, if you're ever there, you might take a look and see her. Who knows? Hello, Bill C. Good to see you. All right, that's your fifth and final story of the night, the Donkey Bridge. So we had a bunch of stories here. To recap real quick, we had the Magnolia Hotel. You had the haunted town of Jefferson, which had the Jefferson Hotel, the Excelsior Hotel, and the Grove House filled with spirits. You had Hell's Gate, which was a Civil War area that left this residual terror of these soldiers that had perished there at the hands of Confederates. And then you had the Screaming Bridge, which is relatively new, from the 1960s, based on an accident of these poor teenage girls. And then finally, you had the Donkey Lady, the legend of the Donkey Lady from the 1800s, the late 1800s. So there are your Texas ghost stories for the evening. I hope you enjoyed them. Hello, Tara. Welcome. That's okay. You can always go back and watch it, right? You can always go back and watch it. It's still here. It'll be here. But thank you for coming in. I appreciate that. So let's talk about some paranormal activity. Let's view some paranormal videos or paranormal pictures. Now, I don't know if Thindo is still around, if he's awake. but if he is, I want to show you his picture if you haven't seen it. This is Thindu's ghost picture. All right. Um, hold on here. If I can launch it properly here. Hold on. That's not it. Hold on. Where is it? That's not it either. Here we go. All right, here we go. Now, all my talk about ghostly pictures, etc. Thindu was always telling me he has this ghost picture. He's got to show it to me. So he finally did. He showed it on his show, I believe. But let me show you what it looks like, and you tell me what you think about it. All right. So here goes. Here is the ghostly picture of taken in Thindu's house. All right, here we go. All right. Now, the top picture, these pictures, the top picture was taken first. The second picture was taken milliseconds later. So in other words, he snapped a couple of pictures. Now, do you see this over the stairs? Do you see this white image over the stairs in the lower picture? That is something that Thindu cannot explain. There was no flash of light. There was no reflection. There's nothing there, no light reflecting off of anything. It is simply a white figure, I guess, of some type. It doesn't really look like a figure, but it's a white image of some type of energy that appeared there, and it appeared right over Vito's cage. You see Vito's cage at the bottom of the stairs there. It appeared right over there. So yes, it does look like a stocking, Delilah. That's a good way to describe it. Now, this was taken many years ago, he said. When Vito was a puppy. So probably 10 years ago, I guess, sometime like that. There's Osada treats. It's the spirit of Tommy's cut off pinky. No, it doesn't look like his nub. It doesn't look like that. So what do you think about this? To me, it could be something. If there is no, and obviously I believe Thindu, there's no reason not to, but if there's no light sources that could have been the account for this, what could it possibly be? It's a picture taken in succession like that. It's not, if it's in one, it should be in the other. If it was a light source, it should be in both pictures, but it's not. So to me, I think this could very well be some type of paranormal activity that occurred in his very house. So pretty cool thing right there. And the more I look at it, it kind of looks like a note, like if you ever look at music, it looks like kind of like a note. If you read music, that's what it looks like to me. So pretty cool looking, ghostly, unexplained photo from Thindu. Thank you, my brother, for sharing that with us. All right. Let us move on. All right. All righty. All right here. All right. Now this one. Now this one is interesting. This is a still picture as well. Now this was taken in Ford's Theater. We all know Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., right? That's where Abraham Lincoln was murdered. Now, some people, this is this is kind of interesting, this one. So I want to show it to you. You tell me what you think, but this creeps me out. So here we go. This is taken in Ford's Theater. Now, look, you could see the archway there from one room to the next, right? You're in one room. You see the arch, the square arch there. There's the walkway to the next room, and lights in the background. To the right of the doorway, you see the image of a man. No, Delilah Vito was not in the cage at the time. No, he was not. He was not in the cage at the time. Um, but do you see this? This is distinctly a man. It's distinctly a man, and people are saying that this is the ghost of a soldier who was set to have guarded the president, who should have been guarding the president, I guess, on the night in question. Um, Now, I guess this could be a double exposure. It's possible. I can't really tell from it. It looks like a coat, though. It looks like an old coat. Like the dress looks kind of, the attire looks kind of old time 1800s attire. But who knows? You know, yes, you can see through most of them, Patty. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So I don't know. I think this could be something here. If it's not a double exposure, it's definitely something. If you look close enough, you could see like the large collar he's wearing, the long coat, very very 18th 1800s look to him, which would fit the whole narrative of him being a ghost from someone of that time. So just a creepy folder, a creepy image to think about in terms of Ford's Theater. I've never been there. I'd love to go see there. It's a historical site that's on my list of things to see. But who knows? Could be haunted. Who knows? This soldier that should have been doing his job and didn't do it. So who knows? Maybe that's his penalty. This is where he's going to stay for eternity. So there you have it. So that's the ghost of Ford's Theater right there. All right. Let's get rid of that. All right. All right. Now let's look at a few. I got four more others to look at here. All right. Now, hang on for this one. Please hit the like button, guys, if you like what you see. It's appreciative. It's very appreciative. Tower said he looked very short. Yeah, I mean, it depends on your perspective, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let's go to the next here. Now, let me show you this. Now, this is a still picture, but it's in a video form. So I'm going to play the video, and you tell me what you think. This is taken in a cemetery, obviously. Texas cemetery. Now look at this. Look at the tree. Look at right there. Look at that. Now, it's obviously the head of a girl peeking out behind a tree in a cemetery. Now, here's the question. Is it a person pretending to be a spirit, or is it a spirit? Now, the photographer claims that there was no one there. He was simply taking pictures of the cemetery, and then he saw this when he went back. Now, her face does look grayish, kind of like ghostly. Her face definitely does look that way. But I don't think there's any way of really telling. There's the circle around the face in case you didn't see it. So coming out of the tree, yeah. I mean, Delilah, yeah, it could be. I mean, if it's a CGI type of thing, right? If it was manipulated, that could be. I don't know. Hey, Paulie, have a good weekend. You too, my friend. This is, I mean, it's creepy to begin with. The way it looks, the color of it is creepy, So I don't know. The grayness of it, it just creeps me out. And then in the background here, you see in the background, there's also a circled feature in the background or figure that is supposedly some type of dark figure. I don't know if that's just a person. I don't know what that is, but I was more concerned about the face of this girl, as being something. Well, it's zoomed in. Her head looks huge. It's zoomed in. So I don't know. I mean, the original is far. The original picture is much farther away, as you will see. See, here's the original picture. See how far it is. So if you take the tombstone to the left and measure it up against her, she's not huge, right? You see the tombstone? She's maybe a head length above the tombstone, you know? So she's not really huge, but it's again, there's nothing saying it can't be CGI. I don't know. But I tell you what, there's no shadow cast. There's no shadow in the front. Like you can see the shadow of the tree in the front. You coming forward, the sun is behind the tree. So if that was a person that was there, I would think you'd see the outline of the head in the shadow of the tree. So it could be fake. Could certainly be fake. But I don't think it's a random person that is being confused with a spirit. I think it's either a spirit or it's faked. So there you have that one. All right. Let's get out of here, if we may. All right. Now, 3 more I have for you. Okay, this one is kind of funny to me because it was on the news. It was on a local news, Channel 13. And it was around Halloween, and they were just covering a local story that there's a ghost tour of the cemetery. They're just, and they went there at night to do this. Now watch this video and tell me what you see in the background. You'll see up front. It happens pretty quickly, but you will see the reporter up front and look to her back to the right here, like over here, right here, where I'm kind of pointing over there, right? Look over here. It's going to start. I think it's going to come. Well, no, actually, I forget. Let's play it and see. I forget which way the ghost comes, but watch it and tell me what you think. Yeah, it comes from behind her and it shoots across. All right, let's go back. Let's go back again here. As you can see, it darts in the back. So it's from behind her and it goes across the screen. There you go. And whatever that is, it's translucent. You could see through it. Let's look at it in slow motion here, if we can. Now it's going back. And as you can see, it's translucent. You can see through it, whatever that is. It's kind of hard to see over here, but then it emerges from behind that tombstone right there. So who knows? I don't know about this one. It could, the fact that it is a reporter reporting on a ghost tour makes it suspect, right? To begin with, right? They need to show you something they want to add to the story, right? So who knows? All right, let's get rid of that. Bye-bye to that. The heck did I just do here? Okay, goodbye to that. Good riddance to you. All right, there we go. Now, All right, here is another one. This is another one of a picture of a ghost showing up in a picture. Just a picture being taken, and suddenly things show up. Right now, the backstory to this is that a group of ladies had a retreat, and they took a group photo. And when they looked at the group photo, this is what happens. This is what they see. As you can see, you see between the two ladies up front, you see a ghostly kid head right there. And the head, the head actually moves a little, as you can see. The head is actually moving. So I don't know. I could be a fake, right? Could certainly be a fake. But it's definitely creepy. I agree. It's definitely a creepy photo. Um, anytime something like that pops up, it's really creepy. But as you can see, the head kind of moves a little bit, right? Because this is one of those. I don't know if you're familiar with the iPhone. They have those photos that kind of move. You take a photo and it's like a range of motion. That was one of these. That's why you could see the head move and you could see the lady in the back move. So I don't know. Is it a fake? It's so hard to tell. I wish there was a way to tell whether this is doctored or not. And they swear that there was no kid there. It was, like I said, it was a ladies' retreat. There were no kids around. They took this photo, and this appears. So I don't know. It is very creepy, Angelique. I agree. Um, so there you go. Right? Yeah, it is hard to tell, but it's interesting. It's certainly interesting. Let's put it that way. All right, let's get rid of that. And one more coming up. Hold on here. One more. One more. All right. This one, oh lordy, this one is really creepy, if you ask me. Now, let me tell you the backstory behind this one. Now, this one, is a cemetery, and it's quite a sad story. A family lost a child, a toddler. And this is you see all the grave with the solar lights. That's the child's grave. And they were noticing that a lot of things are left at the grave. They do this on, you'll see this a lot of times when a child dies. They leave stuff like toys, stuff like that. Flowers, balloons, stuff like that. People in dealing with their grief will do things like that. Well, this family was finding that things were disappearing from the grave site. So they got permission from the cemetery to install a camera. And this is what they pick up on camera. As you can see, there is a little child in the middle of the night standing by the grave. Now, this is, as you can see, there's the child. And that's one shot. I mean, it's a trail cam, so it takes still photos. And then here's another image right here of the child bending over the grave. Now, this is in the middle of the night. How could this be a child out there at this time? It's just very disturbing to me to find something like this on the camera. You're looking to find out someone, vandalizing the grave, and this is what you see. You see what looks like a child. And the woman says she started to cry thinking of her daughter when she saw this. But it's just very, very creepy to see that, to see a child of that age in the video at night alone in the cemetery. How could that be? How could a child be alone in the cemetery like that? See, that's what creeps me out. It's just the facts of it creep me out big time. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know, Gene. I don't know. Would they fake it? I don't know. That's pretty awful if that's their child, right? Or could it be someone who is playing a joke on these people, which is even probably worse, right? People, if someone took their own child and put it there, had them go there at night, knowing that there was a camera there, just horrible. But it's a very, very creepy thing to look at. So that's the story there. All right. There you have it. There are your paranormal things to look at and consider for the evening for this week, July 25th, 2025. And as always, I appreciate each and every one of you hanging out with Lenny, myself, Edgar, and Victor. We appreciate you hanging out with us, spending some time with us. Thank you, Patty, for watching and hanging out for a while. And like I said, if you like what I do, share all those things that you're supposed to say on YouTube. Like and share. Consider joining the membership, because I'm going to be doing in the future. I'm going to be doing members only shows with original content of mine in terms of stories, my original stories. So that's to come. I'm working on them now, but that will eventually be. So consider that. Consider supporting the channel by doing that, becoming a member. And hello, Marta. I don't know if I don't know if you just came in, but I didn't say hello to you. So hello, Marta. Thank you for coming in. No, Tara. I do across the country. I do. I think I've done every state now. I think just about every state. So each week I've tried to do a different state. I don't know if I've hit every single one yet. I'm close. I'm pretty close. Pretty close to hitting every state. So, and if not, and there's so many stories that I can always go back and do more, because I never hit them all. There's so many legends, so many word of mouth stories that are interesting to tell, that I can always go back and start over, and start from the beginning and go back to the states I didn't do before. I mean, the states I did a long time ago, and do them again. So a lot of material there. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you come back and then spend some time with us. We have a good crowd here. I'm very thankful for them. Everyone's always polite and respectful in the chat. Everyone's always greeting each other. It makes me very happy the way folks behave in here. So, oh, you're from Texas. Oh, great. Okay, great. Yeah, this was the first thing I did on Texas, because I would do on different states. I'm from New Jersey, so I'm nowhere near Texas, but I will be returning. I'll be definitely going back to Texas, because like I said, there's so many stories to tell. So I'll definitely be coming back sometime in the future to do more Texas stories. But I'm here every Friday. If you like it, come and hang out and listen to what I got to say. Some interesting stuff, little word of mouth stories here and there. They're all word of mouth stories. Just legends and things that people have handed down over the years. That's what these things are. And that's what I find interesting about them. So there you go. So anyway, thank you again, everyone, for hanging out, spending a good hour and a half with me, almost. I appreciate it. And I will see you next week. And until then, stay scared, because it's fun to be scared, right? Right, Lenny? Lenny says yes. So we'll blow out our candles, and I'll wish you all the very best. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and God bless.